It's time to catch up with Senator Pauline Hanson. Pauline Hanson's One Nation leader, of course, in Canberra. Plenty going on in the nation's capital. Pauline Hanson, I hope you're well.
I am very well, thank you.
It's a pleasure. I guess we start here. We know the starter's pistol, I reckon, was fired some time ago, but officially it was fired in the Parliament now. 7 days left. The writs have been issued for people to enrol to vote in the referendum. The Prime Minister says enrol to vote yes to recognition, listening and better results. He says vote yes to bring Australia together. I don't know if I can take his advice about bringing Australia together. I've never seen the country so divided. Have you?
Luke, you hit the nail on the head. It is so divided, and talking to people, when you see the interviews from these Aboriginal people and, you know, the division that's happening in this country, I think it's shocking. And that's all down to Albanese and his voice to Parliament. So people are waking up, seeing the division that is happening, just on principle. It's wrong. It is so wrong. There is representation in that Parliament. We are a democracy. Don't go back 60,000 years. We're here and today in the 21st century, and it should not be happening.
Yeah, absolutely right. And I should just say to listeners, if you follow Pauline and One Nation on YouTube, on the weekend there are a number of past speeches from those people who are advocating on behalf of the voice that need to be listened to. This is not about recognition, and it's, of course, about the voice, but the end game is about treaty. It's about reparations, isn't it?
It is. It's about setting up. They're asking for we the people to actually endorse them as the spokespersons for the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islanders, meaning that they're looking for us to endorse them as the people they can do a treaty with. That's what it's all about. So once you endorse them in the Constitution, they then can do a treaty with the government. It's not about, you know, the issues and problems being a voice and saying what's happening in, you know, with domestic violence, the crime. We know all that. They know what the problems are. So it goes beyond that, goes deeper than that. So people really have to understand what it's about. And it's about being division. It's dividing our nation with two races of people, the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander to every other Australian. And they're heading down the path also to set up a nation within a nation, and they expect the people of Australia to fund that. That's what it's all about.
And you've moved, haven't you, in the Senate, a sunset clause on native title claims? And boy, we've heard a lot about this over the last week or so. You and I spoke a week ago about what's happening in Queensland, and now in New South Wales there's something like 40,000 unsettled claims.
There is, Luke. There's a difference between it. Native title was actually brought in 1993, the Native Title Act. That was brought in 1993. And, of course, we had the case with the Mabo case. Now, John Howard tried to move in 1998. It was about the bill, and in the bill it was to have a sunset clause to do with native title claims, which was to actually say, okay, well, I think it was around about 2000. He said, right, we'll give you a couple of years, put in your claims. After that, you know, no more claims, but we'll process the claims that are being made. Well, that was thrown out of the Senate, and it was Brian Harradine, Senator from Tasmania, who actually didn't vote for it, so it was thrown out. So all this time, we've had native title claims. To explain to people, over 50% of Australia is now under native title. We've got another 12% pending, and it's up for the decision to be made with regards to it. So therefore you have native title claims can only be made by people who have a connection to the land dating back to 1788. On the registrar is about 430,000 people. So you're looking at 2% of the population own 50% of the land mass now at the moment, and it could be up to 62% because they expect that to be passed. So this is what I'm saying. There has to be a sunset clause so that we're not constantly faced with native title claims. But apart from that, John Howard put, it was over $1 billion into a trust fund, so in perpetuity, for them to use the money to buy land in Australia. Also on top of that, we've got claims now that's happening in New South Wales, 40,000 claims for people to can claim against Crown land that they believe isn't being used. So that's on top of it, and that's funded by the government. But they withdrew funding from the Australian people and councils and everyone to defend those claims. So it's just ongoing. And I put this up today. It'll be voted down, Luke. They won't vote for it, all right? because they don't want to see One Nation get some common sense policies that supports the Australian people up on there, and they are so bloody minded that they don't understand. They're not in connection with the ordinary Australians out there. As I said, every Australian should have to work and strive, go without, buy their own land, and that's their connection with the land.
Can't disagree with that. Now, Labor's got a new productivity commission boss. She's been with a think tank, I think the Grattan Institute, Chief Executive Danielle Wood, and amongst other things, Pauline, she's certainly not averse to increasing taxes, increasing the GST. And what about this? Potentially the family home included in the aged pension asset test. This is unbelievable.
I was looking at her picture, and I'm saying she'd be lucky to be 40. So what would she know about life? Honestly, she's actually been in the Grattan Institute, so left-wing, so Marxist, socialist policies, and the whole fact is that she's coming up with these ideas that she's previously backed, slashing defence spending, which we need, which we don't need in light of what with China pending, wanting to take over Taiwan, and what after that, we don't know. Increasing the GST to 15%, again, hurting the Australian people out there because this money goes to the states who actually waste money, and we get nothing for it because the governments can't rein in their own spending, but they expect people to pick up the taxes, pay more and more taxes all the time. Then she wants to redesign stage 3 of the tax cuts. So therefore, you people out there working hard expect a bit of a tax cut. She wants to take that away from you. And then if they're including the home in the age pension assets test, and then rolling back generous superannuation tax concessions. Well, geez, last time I looked, you're taxed left, right and centre on your superannuation. She doesn't win any awards from me, and if Labor are relying on her and her economic sense, as I said in my maiden speech in 1996, I wouldn't have an economist do my grocery shopping for me.
And you know what? Jim Chalmers can deny all he likes about this. Her views were well known, weren't they, Pauline? And you wouldn't be having someone as friendly as going after the Australian with their taxes and changing the rules on everything, unless you had some predisposition to thinking that might be the way we deal with things in the future.
Look at the government that we have now, Luke, all right? They're so socialist, so Marxist, so communist. And that's what Anthony Albanese is, far to the left, and with the Greens supporting them. And the whole fact is it's not going to help the Australian people that are struggling through cost of living and everything. This is just ridiculous what she's doing. And you're attacking just the ordinary people. To hear that we're going to actually tax you more in the GST, or the fact is, talk now also about heritage tax, okay, death duties tax, because... And I am so opposed to that, Luke. We pay taxes all the way along. 44% of your home, when you build a home, is due to taxes. You're taxed all the way, left, right and centre. And then in your death, they want to take those, tax you again on it. And I think it's so wrong. And if people keep voting for these idiots in there, and I'm talking about the Labor and even some of the lefty coalition, you really need to go and have a good look at what sort of future you want in this country.
And that leaves aside the Greens, and they're on a whole different level. Look, we're just about out of time, and I know that you've stood up to this new Family Law Act or the changes to it. It's likely to pass the Parliament. Just tell my listeners, Pauline, what worries you most?
Getting rid of the shared parenting, and they want to get rid of the meaningful relationships. So that's been, taken out of it, and I think that's wrong. The best interest of the child is to spend as much time with both parents, and they should have a shared responsibility in rearing that child. Now, Howard brought it in, and Julia Gillard kept it there, but now they want to get rid of it because these left-leaning organisations, domestic violence, well, these women organisations, the feminists and all the rest of it, they believe that the female is far better to rear the child. Parents, if you have an issue, you've split up. You know what? You brought children into the world. You both have a right to see them, and don't take your grievances out on the children because they're the ones that suffer in the long run.
Thank you for standing up for ordinary people. Talk to you soon. Thanks so much, Pauline.
My pleasure. Thanks.